Hi, this is Ryan Reagan, the founding partner of HKExcel. So today, I'm going to shoot a new video series that I think will really benefit you if you're an IB economics student. I know a lot of IB students, they find difficulty in understanding IB-econ concepts, or they find it very difficult to remember them. But actually, I've realized that when you understand how IB economic concepts can be applied to the real world, when you start to know more real-life examples of how concepts can be applied to the real world, IB economics can become very easy. So in this IB Econ Applied to the Real World video series, I'm planning to shoot a series of video for each IB economic concept and show you how, give you very concrete real-life examples to show you how they can be applied to the real world. And I think it can dramatically improve your understanding for the IB econ concepts I've talked about. And more importantly, it will allow you to do better in your exam because you understand the concepts better. Talk to you about is called the short-run shutdown rule. And before we talk about that, I want to give you a real-life example. So, like below my office, there's a street with a lot of restaurants, and you know, restaurant is a very competitive business. So a lot of restaurants shut down, but most restaurants, 90% of if they shut down is at least after 2 years. Why? Because the rental contract is for 2 years, right? So if you shut down, normally you finish your rental contract. Normally you finish your 2-year rental contract and then you shut down. But recently there was this restaurant that shut down after just 5 months. It's a terrible situation. So why would it shut down before? So obviously the rental contract haven't finished. So even though they shut down, they're still paying rents. Okay, so the shop is emptied essentially, and the shop is still paying rents. So why would a restaurant shut down before even finishing its rental contract? Well, you can explain this with the ib-econ concept known as the short-run shutdown rule. Okay, so let's look at the short-run shutdown rule. So basically, the short-run shutdown rules. Okay, so you can see here. Let's look at here. If the price of the firm is less than average variable cost, the firm should shut down in the short run. Okay, before we talk about anything else, so what is variable cost? Variable costs are costs that changes with the output, right? So very important distinction. Okay, so I'll write it down here. If output equals 0, variable cost equals 0, right? Like what are variable costs in restaurants case? Like for example, workers who work in the restaurant, the cost of food, the cost of the ingredients, these are all variable costs. If you shut down, you don't produce anything, the variable cost is 0. Okay, so what is the short run? So here it tells us short run. So short run means that there are fixed factors of production, right? So another way of saying that is a fixed cost exists. So for a restaurant, the fixed cost will be the rents, right? The rent, and even if they don't produce, they still have to pay rent in the short run, like because there's the rental contract, right? So now the thing here is that if price is less than average variable cost, the firm will shut down. Okay, so so we know that the restaurant that shut down after 5 months, we know that the revenue must be less than average variable cost. Why? Well, first let's talk about one thing. If price is less than average variable cost, the revenue must be less than variable cost. Okay, the revenue must be less than variable cost if the price is less than average variable cost. This sentence right here, got it? This makes a lot of sense, right? So if your price per unit is less than your average variable cost is basically just variable cost divided by quantity. Variable cost per quantity, if it's greater than the price, it means that revenue is less than average variable cost. Now, if the firm, okay, now let's look at the sentence. If the firm does not run in the short run, so if the firm shuts down, it does not run like the restaurant, like they will only lose fixed costs. They would pay its rents, right? But what if, and if the price is less than average variable cost, but the firm continues to run, now the revenue is less than variable cost, right? If the revenue is less than variable cost, it means that it will lose, the restaurant must lose part of its variable cost. If it continues to run, the revenue would only be enough to cover a section, a small part of the variable cost. But some of its variable cost cannot be covered by its revenue, so it will lose part of its variable cost, right? So for example, the revenue will only be able to cover half of the salary, for example. So other half the salary is already a loss. Okay. Well, if you lose part of your variable cost, of course you also lose all of your fixed costs, right? Like your revenue only pays part of the variable cost, but there is still part of the variable cost cannot be paid by the revenue, and then fixed costs which cannot be paid by revenue as well. So the fixed costs and the part of variable costs are all losses, right? So any firm, rational business owner, we want to minimize losses, right? So if you continue to run in the short run, you lose part of variable cost and all fixed costs. But if you shut down, you only lose fixed costs. So in a rational sense, the firm must shut down. So this is the reason why the restaurant shut down in just 5 months before the rental contract even ends. It's because the revenue is less than variable cost. So it's better off for the firm to shut down. Okay, this is the idea of short run shutdown rule. So I hope this video helps you to understand the short run shutdown rule by a real life example, and you understood the real life example. And so I have a lot of sample econ essays you can download, and you can register for a free trial lesson on our website overseas.vnote.hk. Okay, we look forward to helping you.